Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another narrated match video. Today we're going to be doing general killer tips. This is a narrated match request from the fake Bennett, asking us on how to generally do things better across all killers and how to improve the results inside of your killer games. Now, I will say this first and foremost, and this is something that we lose a lot when we're trying to rationalize our losses in DBD. The best killer tip for you, for everyone, is playtime and experience. Nothing can replace playtime and experience. Maps, perks, add-ons, etc. all affect your performance for sure, but over time, you have to put in the hard work and dedication, and you will eventually overcome these obstacles if you do put in that hard work and that dedication. The game is survivor-sided. Nobody's going to lie to you and say that it's not, but what I will say is it's not as much as people make it out to be. It's a very, very exaggerated statement. So, if you're struggling right now and you're newer at the game, just keep at it. You have to continue to be what they call a student of the game. Continue to watch people with more hours than you play the game, keep grinding these own matches yourself, because these aspects of improvement are irreplaceable. Nothing will ever make you a better player than being a student of the game. So keep being a student of the game. Now, with that out of the way, I wanted to boil down the video to miscellaneous strategies that you can use to improve your killer results no matter who you play. For this reason, I have picked the very unassuming and very weak killer, Sadako. The Onryo is very fun to play, but her power is incredibly underwhelming. However, this is perfect because I really want you to look at what you can do across all killers and not how to specifically utilize certain killer powers. So Sadako will be our perfect killer for today. Our build will also be mostly unassuming and unimpactful because we don't want our, similarly to how we don't want our powers to be playing the game for us so I can show you killer tips, I don't want our build to also be playing the game for us. That way you can see good killer gameplay and good killer strategies that aren't being impacted by our perks or our power as much as possible. So we're going to put on this very, very simple build, which is barbecue, brutal, enduring, and corrupt. Barbecue is for basic info on where to go next. Brutal and enduring are so we can focus on chases, because that's where most of the things that you can do to improve at the game lie. And corrupt, so we can buy a little time when starting to play the game, so we don't get just gen rushed out at the very beginning. This build is sort of a one-size-fits-all build that works on about every character besides the ones that like exclusively use their power. Good example of this would be Nurse. She's always teleporting, so she's not really playing the pallet chase game like everybody else does. But you can use this on just about anybody. You can use it on Myers, you can use it on Clown, you can use it on Oni, Hillbilly, Wraith, etc. You can use this on basically most killers in the game, and you'll be able to get value from all these perks without them necessarily taking the wheel and playing the game for you. All right, so I think I've talked quite enough. Let's go ahead and get to the match. All right, so we start on RPD. We are sent here, which is probably because of the busted setups, and according to DBD's official Twitter, is the largest map in the game, according to them. So what we do here at the beginning is a thing we've done in many of our other videos, which is to use the upside down triangle strat to try and find survivors. The upside down triangle, if you don't know, is when you spawn inside the game as killer. You look at the point from which you are and look up to the left, up to the right, and between somewhere in the middle of that upside down triangle is where all the survivors have spawned. Sometimes the patch is wonky and it'll throw somebody to the left or to the right of you, but by and large, most survivors will be spawning in this upside down triangle space. And as you see, I'll go down here and find somebody directly immediately. So we find this ace immediately, and he smacks down the pallet. This ace is going to be extremely wasteful with his resources, and this is going to be nothing but beneficial to us. This is probably the only pallet he saves, but then he comes back for that later. So when you're in this situation where you have a survivor that's going to, you know, kind of play as safe as possible, and they're only going to bait pallets if they know they have dead hard, if they know they have dead hard and they can possibly push past it, or otherwise they're just going to be slapping down the pallets. It doesn't matter if that chase ends up being long. You want to chase this person because if they continue to waste resources, they are beneficial to you because they are creating dead zones for later in the match. So he is a good player to commit to because he's been wasteful so far. Now, I mess up here. This is all my fault. And failure is the best teacher. This, I could have totally avoided. Absolutely, totally avoided. He baits me successfully here. If you're in this situation, before swinging, do what they call the OTTS tech. It's because OTTS came up with it. If you come up behind somebody and you are suspecting they have dead hard, which I should have been suspecting because he was very wasteful with that first pallet, but then baited the second one for no reason. I should have suspected he had dead hard, and you, in this scenario, you should do the ATTRIBUTION tech, which is to pan your camera up in like a millisecond. Just flick your camera up like you're looking straight at the sky and then come right back down. And the reason this is helpful is because it baits out dead hard, because they assume because your character model is drastically changing out of nowhere that you're going for a swing when you're really just panning your camera in a weird way. So that is the ATTRIBUTION tech. Use that to bait out dead hards. You don't have to sit here, and even though a lot of you guys are really like, oh, well, in the mid chapter, it's being nerfed, you still need to bait out the dead hard. So the ATTRIBUTION tech is still important to know. Pan your camera up and then back down if you suspect somebody's about to dead hard you. That way you don't give them the free out. This is that one of those said busted setups I was talking about earlier. Like, this pallet into that window is super strong, super strong. Now, I don't do this here, and that was another mistake, but thankfully I didn't get punished for it. When you have somebody that goes down under a pallet like this, make sure you pan around a little bit and look to see if anybody was there for the save. I probably picked him up here because I didn't see anybody. I didn't see any other scratch marks, didn't see anybody while chasing, so I probably assumed I was fine. But sometimes survivors are really good at hiding, so it's still helpful to kind of pan your camera around if somebody goes down directly under a pallet. So Kim, I see Yui on barbecue, so I'm going to go pressure her immediately, because everybody else, I have no idea where they are. I give her a go smack. Now, I don't know where Sadako keeps that little ritual sign that she smacks people with. Maybe that's not a question for this kind of website. But anyways, moving on. Yui drops this pallet, and this is a very, very crucial moment and a teachable moment for both her and us, and mostly us. So this pallet is a weak pallet. This pallet is a very, very weak pallet. And the reason it's weak is because, what is this desk? Like a meter long? Essentially on one side, it has a very, very short side that can be very, very easily circumvented by the killer. You can very, very easily walk around it. Now, time is the name of the game in DBD. So there's no reason for you to really go over and break this pallet over here, because that's a waste of time. Because the reason you break pallets is because if they're of medium or stronger strength, they're taking up space that you can't easily circumvent. And in order to reach the survivor or to make a dead zone later, you gotta pop that pallet. You gotta destroy that pallet. However, this one is not in any way obscuring me for getting to Yui. If Yui vaults back into me, I can hit her. If she decides to stay at the pallet, I just walk around the other side. Or what she ends up doing, she ends up pulling W away from me and zoning herself into no resources at all. Basically, what you're seeing here is this is kind of a win-win for me no matter what. There's no reason for me to break this pallet because it benefits me, and if anything, kicking it actually wastes time, and wasted time and DBD on killer is gen time. So if you see a really, really short pallet like this that's super unsafe, it's often better to just leave it up, because often they'll play themselves, like she's doing right now. Yeet. Come with me, Yui. We have places to be. So we hook her, and there's something going on in my head right now that you may or may not have noticed. I have made a video about this before on the channel, but in my head, I have picked 2 focused survivors that I'm going to be focusing on based on the people I've interacted with so far. So Ace is one of my focused survivors, meaning I'm going to try to prioritize chasing and killing him over the other survivors. Why? Because he's incredibly wasteful. We've seen that he's willing to slap down pallets for nearly no reason, which helps us create dead zones later in the match. So that's good for us. So he is a survivor we're going to focus on chasing because he's beneficial to us in terms of pressure. Yui is somebody that is currently my second focused survivor because she seems to not really know how to chase too well, which is no offense to that player. She doesn't really seem to know how to chase too well. She slapped down the pallet, zoned herself into nothing, and went down really, really quickly. But that means I have easy chases with this character. So in my head, I'm boiling it down to more of a segmented 2v1 situation instead of a 4v1. A lot of killers overwhelm themselves by trying to think about the 4v1 strat all the time. Like, I'm in a 4v1. I have to fight all 4 survivors at the same time. No, you don't. Segment it down into a 2v1, and then kind of rotate their survivors based on what changes inside of the match. Right now, it's Ace and Yui because Ace is wasteful and Yui's bad at chase. So I'm going to be focusing and prioritizing chasing and killing those 2 over other characters in the game. Once again, I see Yoichi, going for Ace instead. Ace is my focus survivor. I'm focusing him instead, so we're gonna go to him. So as you can see, slaps down the pallet immediately, doesn't even try to greet it. But that's a really, really strong pallet. It's gone now. Yoichi does come back and try to take aggro, but nope. I'm focusing on Ace. Ace is my focus. Give him a good old smack. I've also already hooked Ace, so that's helpful in terms of the hook progress so far towards winning the match, obviously, and getting somebody killed earlier. I try to hide my red stain. He doesn't really care. I try to mind game him here, and he just E-keys out of it, which, you know, thankfully that's gone next mid-chapter. And then I come around here, and I try to mind game him again, and this is a problem of my own. Mind gaming somebody who plays extremely safe is dumb. It's a dumb thing, and it's not good for you to do as killer. You see people like Otts and Scott and other really, really good killer mains just mind game like crazy, and your brain just goes, well, if I'm a good killer main, I gotta mind game people. Mind games only work on people who are A, paying attention, and B, taking risks. This Ace, so far, we have profiled as a character that does not take risks. This player does not take risks when he plays. He just sits in the pallet, waits, and then slaps you in the face with it. This homie does not want to take risks. So why am I trying to create a risk or force him to take a risk when this player has shown me so far that he just wants to E-key and drop pallets in my face super safely? You want to mind game players that are more likely to take risks and not ones that clearly don't want to take the bait. So don't mind game people that are super safe and super conservative players. Try to mind game people who seem like they want to take more risks. Because there's no reason for me to mind game this guy, because he's just going to play safe. And then he gets the window. So, you know, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't try to mind game people that won't fall for it, or aren't even like paying attention and playing super safe. I snuff out the Circle of Healing, because especially as an M1 killer, that's got to go. And I come back to continue chasing him. Get rid of another really, really strong pallet in the game. Now, what I do here gets me the down, and this is something that's really important for you in terms of winning your chase in Dead by Daylight. So, we get to this little table here. And this isn't a weak pallet because this table is pretty long. So he has a lot of space where he can run around and play this pallet super safely. However, often in DBD, most of your chases come down to literal, like 2 or 3 feet worth of space before getting a hit or getting slapped by the pallet. It's really not a lot of space between you and the survivor when one of those two things happens. So you got to figure out a way to essentially cheese your way or cheat your way into having those 2 or 3 extra feet closer to the survivor so you can guarantee the hit over the pallet stun. And there's a lot of little ways to do this. And one of the ways I do here is I fake like I'm going to go around one side and then I immediately switch back to the other, because the survivor has to react to what I'm doing. I am the opposing force here. I am the quote-unquote power role. So he can't, like, you know, punch me in the mouth or anything. He has to obey the law of what I do if he wants to avoid me. So what I do is I fake like I'm going to go one direction around the loop and I immediately return to the other side. And that little hesitation he does is quite literally the difference between me getting hit with the pallet and me hitting him. Like, literally, I could not have threaded this needle any closer. So if you are in a situation where you're like, you need just a little bit more space, trick them by trying to make him hesitate by quickly going one side and then switching back to the other. Nope, I'm coming this way. Wow. Thankfully, I do get him. And there's the Yoichi that was slinking around. He is the one that's putting up the boon over and over. Once again, another pallet that Ace has dropped that has now made this area pretty much a dead zone. Why don't we give him a little schmack? I was hoping to maybe get this pallet out of him, but Yoichi doesn't seem as much of a resource-wasting player as the other character is, so... Okay, so this is important what I do here, and it may seem pointless. When I'm going to chase this Yoichi into the Star's office of RPD, I'm going to take it this way initially, and then I choose not to. And a lot of people will be like, well, why didn't you just chase him forward? Why did you not just go forward and keep chasing him around the loop that way? So, an important thing that you need to do as a killer in DBD is what I call purposeful pallet breaking. Purposeful pallet breaking. PPB. That sounds like that could be an acronym for something bad. Okay. Purposeful pallet breaking is when you decide you're going to break a pallet in a way that it cuts off the survivor from resources they could use. So, to my right is the hallway that leads to a safe pallet right by that laundry room over there. And I know it's there because I spawned there. So I know that there is a safe pallet really, really close by if he can make it to the hallway. So if I chase him around this way, he's just going to come up, go to the left, and I'm going to be stunned, and he's going to be able to very easily run out into the hallway and make it to that safe pallet right away. And I know after that safe pallet, there's the library, which has vaults, which has another pallet. That's a very, like, resource-heavy area out there in that hallway right now. So what I want to do is I actually want to change directions so he doesn't have access to that hallway. Because what happens now is when he slaps down this pallet, what does he have back here? He has a wall. He literally has, what are his resources now? He has a wall. And he can go back the way he came, and there is a pallet out there. But after he drops that pallet, there's nothing over there. There's not the whole library to work with. So I have forced him towards an area that is less advantageous for him because there's quite literally less resources that direction. And all I did was decide, I don't want to break the hall, or I don't want to break the pallet on this side, on the hallway side. I want to break it over here. So what you want to do in these scenarios is whenever you're going to break a pallet, think about where all the resources are and put your body there. Put yourself as like a physical wall between the survivor and the resources. Right now, I am physically blocking the hallway door to go out into the hallway to that strong pallet into the library. So he would literally have to run into me, which, you know, I would just get the hit, in order to go to his safest spot. Now he has to go somewhere that's less safe because I am physically blocking the area. So you need to do that purposeful pallet breaking in order to become a better killer. It's not optional. Like I said, he has this one pallet, but that's the only resource in this area that he has available to him. So we just snap it, follow him through the blind, and look, he's got literally nothing to work with. Bait the dead heart. There's the odds tech that I mentioned. No dead heart, so I smack him. See, he zoned himself into... He didn't zone himself. I zoned him into an area that had no resources for him just by breaking the pallet on a different side. That matters so much. I actually just heard Yunjin, like, grunt. I don't know where she was, but I heard her grunt. So what I do is I just go into this room, I stealth, and I wait a second. So what a lot of survivors will do is a lot of survivors like to play risky and do very, very risky things. And then they'll call you like, oh, you're proxy camping or you're camping when they make those risky plays. Like this Yunjin, what she's about to do is she's about to rip Yoichi off the hook with me literally right here. And you can't say, well, you're demanifested. Tadako's a lullaby. So she knows I'm still here. So she's going for a risky play by just running up and saving Yoichi here. They will probably yell you and be like, you're a proxy camper, you're a camper. That is a bad play. You punish bad plays as killer. You are on opposing sides. If they make bad plays, you punish them. This only serves to benefit you to be there when the unhook happens, especially if you're right there. You could slug the person that comes right off hook. At the very, very least, you break up the heal. That way the person has to play injured. It's just to your benefit. There's no reason not to do it. So don't be worried about, wow, you're a camper, a proxy camper. If you hear a survivor is nearby and they're near the hook, right after you've hooked someone, you're pressuring half the team at one time. Like I was saying, focus 2 survivors. Make it these individual segments of 2v1s instead of a whole 4v1 game, you know? So right now, Yunjin is trying to just do something really greedy and doing it right under my nose. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to challenge it. Yeah, you stop that. Smack. Smack him. Now, this is unfortunate. I was trying to follow her scratch marks, but I ended up on his. So I just wait out the BT, and I slug him. He might have DS, so we're not going to pick up. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm creating a pressure situation by doing this that is very, very favorable to me. So what's happening right now is if you look at the left side of the screen, Yoichi's on the ground right now. Yoichi's in the slug zone. He's dead. Well, not dead. He's slugged. But if you look at the left side of the screen, Yunjin is probably not going to come over and pick up Yoichi because somebody needs to come pick him up. Somebody has to at some point, unless he has Unbreakable. Yunjin is not going to do it because Yunjin is injured. So if she gets caught out of position, she's going to get put down in the dying state as well. So that leaves the two people that I was trying to focus earlier, which was Ace and Yui, to come get it. And these people are probably on gens. These are probably the ones doing the gens in the background. Now, they have to come off the gens to come save Yoichi because Yunjin's injured and can't do it, and can't do it himself unless he has certain perks. So these two now are having pressure applied to them, and I'm nowhere near them. Nowhere near them. Nowhere near them at all. So one of the biggest things you can do if you're not wanting to run a lot of slowdown to create kind of like, invisible slowdown is to slug people. I know that's not like new info or anything. Slugging good, duh. But like, I don't see killers do it a lot. Like I don't see a lot of killers do it, especially ones that are emerging and trying to get better. I think it's just because they're scared that if they leave that guy on the floor over there, that they won't get the hook and then they lose the game. But what you're doing is you're making all three of the other survivors right now, especially because I've injured her, go, oh God, do I have to go get them? Do I have to go figure this out? So you are creating invisible slowdown because they can't be touching the gens and getting Yoichi at the same time. So you're quite literally ripping them off the gens without using a single perk. So you need to do that. If you don't do this, you have to start doing it. You have to learn this skill if you're going to be good at killer. You just have to. It's funny that Yunjin went straight to the gen instead of like, I don't know. I guess she would have been in danger if she picked him up. Look what happened. Look what happened. Remember I was talking about how Ace is super wasteful and that's going to be super beneficial to us later and why it was worth chasing him? This is one of the most broken setups on this map because when that pallet's up and that window's up, it's almost an infinite because if you even like slightly lag behind the survivor, they break chase in this corner because of line of sight blockage. So this is a very dangerous loop. This is one of the strongest loops in the game. The pallet's gone. Ace wasted it because he's a wasteful player, and now Yunjin just has nothing. This chase is now a foregone conclusion because Ace was wasteful earlier in the match, and because I chose to chase him through here, even though it could have been quote-unquote a waste of time, now Yunjin just goes down for free because of that. So case meet point. That's why that stuff is important. Yeah, because now I just have an easy down. Get on that hook. And look what I see. Look who's coming. The two people I wanted to focus earlier are coming for the save. They're not on gens. They're coming to pick up Yoichi off the ground. So I get to continue pressuring them. And I'm not even doing anything. I'm not even over there right now. Which is really, really nice. I just noticed this. I don't know how long I've played Sadako, but she has these little like foot pads because she's barefoot technically. So she's got these little pit pads. And then we whack him. And even while he's like, we're at the end of the match, he's still wasting stuff. He's still wasting things. And he still is. So just keep following him because it's gonna make a dead zone for somebody later. This will win me a chase later. I am almost 100% sure this actually does win me a chase later as well because he just destroyed that entire library hallway that we were talking about earlier. And he destroys himself because he has no pallet because he wasted that one earlier. So all he has is this tiny little pallet. All he has is his weak little pallet left because he wasted them all. So even though that chase at the beginning took so long, look how much it like saved us later on. Look at how much it helped us. I feel like leaving chases is such a like frightening thing for killers. Leaving chase is such a frightening thing for killers because they feel like they're losing, and it's like an ego thing. You want to leave a chase if you're not getting hits and you're not getting resources, so you're not getting pallets or anything. If they're not dropping pallets, you're not getting the hit, you gotta go. If you don't get those things in like the first like 10-15 seconds of the chase, you should go. You need to go. You need to leave. The reason that chase with Ace was long and it was fine is because he was wasting those resources. So I was winning later down the line, technically, because he was creating dead zones. If I couldn't get a hit, or if he wasn't dropping those pallets, I should have left that chase. And I feel like it's like the biggest, and it's the suckiest, like, killer thing you got to learn is if you're not getting anything out of the chase and it's taking too long, you got to just go. You just got to go find somebody else. So one of our 2 focus people is dead. So I'm actually going to rotate my 2v1 of my picked characters, mostly to Yunjin and Yuri right now. So I slug her because she might have DS still, because she just came off hook. And Yui does the same thing she did earlier. Runs wild, drops that pallet way too early, and zones herself into nothing. So it gives me a point. Come here, Yui. And now Yoichi, who's the only person left in the match that could possibly pick Yunjin up, has to come get her. And in fact, he does. Look at him. Look at him scooting by. So now nobody's on a gen. Nobody's on a gen right now. Now this sucks because the scratch marks look like they go outside, but then they don't. But it's not that big of a deal. We already have somebody dead at 3 gens. Once again, because she was wasteful, look, there's nothing there for him. Once again, she thinks she came off hook, so we're gonna leave her. Go back to Yunjin. There's 3 Y names in this match at the same time. I don't know why he's over there being weird when he could be helping, but hey. I always think if somebody's like throwing a tantrum like that, don't worry about them. So we're gonna chase down Yunjin because she is I don't know how that misses. That was really strange. Like, she was right in front of us. I don't know why it missed. Remember, Yunjin's one of our focused survivors right now, so even though I know somebody's over there on the right, it's Yunjin and Yui right now that we need to be focusing on. We get her there. We start the cycle again. I feel like that's one of the best things to like de-stress your brain while you're playing killer. We actually have the slugger here, and it's not because we mean to here, but it's just RPD and basically indoor maps in general in this game. Sometimes there'll be a hook, quote unquote, nearby, but it's behind a wall, so you just can't hook people. It's one of like the biggest like glaring like game design problems with DBD, especially the indoor maps. Is just like sometimes they quote unquote give you a hook nearby and then they just don't. But it still serves as good bait to lure out the other characters. I wanted Yui, but I'm pretty sure we got Yoichi. Yeah, so that's fine. Pressure is pressure. I don't know why survivors do that. that like never helps. But this time we can get him over there. He went down close enough. Yui did come out and get Yunjin up. So there's our 2 focused survivors, close to each other now. I do try to get her before she can heal, but unfortunately, you know, she does get it off in time. That's just more of a circle of healing thing. That's why I was trying to extinguish it pretty frequently earlier in the match, but you know, I'm not 2 people. I can't make that happen. See, leaving that pallet up literally didn't affect that chase that much at all. Like, she got to vault that, but she didn't make like any distance. Now she has balance here, but like, see how that having that pallet up didn't like really hurt this chase at all? That's why you don't want to waste time breaking it, because like by and large it's just not helpful, and you would have wasted time kicking it when you could have, you know, been in chase. So yeah, if a pallet's weak, don't be afraid to leave it up. Once again, I do end up getting to this hook, but like this hook's super far away. I don't know why the hook spawns on indoor maps are so bad. It's like they just like take account for the fact that like, hey, there's huge walls that you can't bypass. But oh well. So now, obviously, my 2 focus survivors are the last 2 people, now that she's dead. So, yeah. He was trying to heal himself up with a circle. So we're gonna go chase him down. Once again, look! Ace used all the resources in this hallway and in the library, so what does Yoichi do now? He just gets blasted. There's nothing he can do. That's all because we spent the time chasing somebody earlier and invested the time into breaking all those pallets that he was wasting. See? Ace meat point. So now it's down to Yui. Yui got kind of like trucked in the very first chase, and from that point on, kind of played it very like immersed and fearfully. Also, easy hatch. I feel like I never find hatch as survivor, so it's like I guess somewhere the karma was evening it out. Fun fact about the doors. The lights above the doors. There's something called an E-Tech. So when you're trying to guard these doors like this, survivors will do the E-Tech. So the lights on top of the doors don't come on until you reach the E of the word opening exit gates that's on your little bar. You see how I have like, it says manifest over my little bar at the center of the screen? They have a little bar when they're opening the exit gate that says like opening exit gates or something like that. And when it hits the E, right after it gets past the E, that's when the red lights start coming on. So what survivors can do is they can go up and they can like put it all the way up to the E and then not actually like proc the lights yet, despite the door being about a third of the way done. So survivors will do that to you. So don't walk up and assume that like, a door is not touched at all just because the lights are off, because realistically they could have done the E-Tech and powered it all the way up to the E and then are just waiting for you to leave to go check something else. That's a little thing that'll be helpful for you to like actually win these kind of like 1v1 standoffs after you've gotten the exit gates. Sometimes it's not possible, obviously because of the map, but by and large that'll help you win your exit gate situations, thankfully. Now, the Yui actually chose to heal up instead, which you probably noticed on the left side of the screen. And for some reason, I don't know why, she just kind of like chose not to go for the door literally at all. I don't know what the game plan was there or what she was thinking, but she just kind of didn't even attempt the door. So, I don't know. I don't know what the deal was, but, you know, as we say in fighting games, we take those. I like look up, I'm like, what? Why were you up there? What were you doing? Like, why was she walking around the top for? Exit gates aren't up there. I don't know. But it's okay. We still win. We still get it. So, this match went pretty well, and there was a lot of little killer things that we did that helped us win the match. But I do want to point them out to you under our main points that we do at the end of each of these videos. Number one, I would say, in terms of our main points, is sometimes destroying pallets is as good as getting a hit or a down. Obviously, Ace was wasting a ton of pallets, and even though the chase with him lasted a while, the amount of pallets we removed from the map created dead zones that helped us later on. That was still incredibly helpful to us. So sometimes removing a lot of resources from the map is just as helpful as a hit or a down. Don't feel discouraged if you've removed a lot of pallets, because unless it's like the meatpacking plant, removing those pallets does create a dead zone that will help you win chases basically for free later on inside of the match. Number two, if a pallet is weak, it's often better just to leave it up. You saw that with the Yui situation with that pallet upstairs in the actual office of RPD, the actual chief's office, is that dropping that pallet did not help that Yui at all, and she just zoned herself into nothing and got down. And then even when Yoonjin came to it later in the match, like, she vaulted it and it didn't give her any distance, and we just caught up to her and downed her really quickly. Time in DBD is gen time. And if you spend time kicking every single pallet you come across, you're giving the survivors gen time. So weak pallets like that, where you can just go around the other side or make the survivor leave the pallet, don't waste time kicking those, because that's what's going to save you that time, and that time is gen time. Third, rotate around pallets to break them in a position that cuts off survivors from their resources. That's what happened in the starter's office with the Yoichi. Just by breaking the pallet on one side instead of the other, I cut off Yoichi's access to the hallway because I was then standing in the way, and he had to run somewhere that wasn't as safe. So when you're going to break a pallet, think about what area around you has the most resources that they can run to, and physically move yourself to that side of the pallet so you can block their access to the stronger side of the map. Number 4, slugging is a subtle way to cause slowdown. You have to use this. If you're not going to be running a bunch of slowdown, which I don't think you should, you need to be slugging. Slugging is needed what you need to do, because what you're doing is when you slug someone is you're requiring somebody else to come off a gen and come get them. So you're essentially removing gen time for the survivors by creating a situation that desperately needs their focus in order to keep them going. So make sure that you are slugging, especially when they come off hook and they might have DS. Just leave them on the ground and force somebody else to come pick them up, because that's invisible pressure that you're getting by doing that. Number 5, which is I feel like my biggest takeaway from this, is focus on 2 survivors, not all 4. Focusing on all 4 survivors is daunting and scary, and when it feels overwhelming, it's because it is. So try to narrow your brain down to picking 2 survivors based on like their psychological profiles. Like we focused Ace because he was wasteful with pallets. That's helpful to us. We focused on Yui because Yui was bad in chase. That's helpful to us. So find 2 survivors and prioritize them based on those kind of characteristics that are helpful for you, and focus them and kind of create these individual 2v1 situations instead of focusing on the 4v1 100% of the time, 100% of the match. It's very overwhelming. It's hard to do right. So break it down to these little 2v1s. That way you can focus more on pressuring them instead of all 4 people at once. And then the pieces will fall in place. When it becomes a 3v1, when it becomes a 2v1, because you've killed people in the game. And then the pressure's alleviated. All right, that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions on what next narrated match we should do, if there's a specific character, specific add-on, specific map you want to see used, and how to get better at that, I will be more than happy to try to put in some research, put in some time, and give you some tips on how to improve at those things. Just let me know what you want to see and what you need help with down in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to make that video for you. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you found this helpful. But other than that, I'll see you tomorrow, guys, in the next video. But if I do not, I will see you. And I'll see you. Goodbye.